Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, our mission is, it's highly ambitious. And frankly, it sounds a little like a contradiction in terms at first.
It does.
We're going to explore how the sort of foundational ethical map for navigating these really complex, hyper-modern challenges of AI and, global information overload can actually be found in the historical leadership of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq.
It's an extraordinary argument, and I think it forces us to confront a really fundamental truth about our current era. We're generating systemic and ethical problems at machine speed.
Right.
And these are problems that a lot of the time technology itself just cannot solve. The solutions, as the source material really digs into, are less about, writing newer code and more about time-tested, unwavering moral wisdom.
Exactly. And that's our source for today. We're drawing on a really fascinating and, I think, essential body of work. It's the book Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, Leadership in Faith and Integrity in the AI Era.
A very timely title.
It is, and this deep dive is, it's custom-tailored for you, the listener, who's seeking a rapid but really thorough pathway to understanding this crucial intersection. We want to synthesize why the author, Zaheer Ahmad Meer, who is a visionary thinker in this space, why he believes this historical figure isn't just relevant, but is an absolute necessity for modern humanity.
Well, and the author's background gives him a really powerful lens for this analysis, doesn't it? I mean, Zaheer Ahmad Meer is highly distinguished. He's a constitutional and corporate lawyer, but his work goes so much further than just jurisprudence.
Oh, absolutely.
He's a prolific author, and he's really dedicated to connecting traditional foundational wisdom, specifically the principles of Islamic leadership and ethics, with the stark disruptive realities of these future technologies. He's looking for enduring principles in a world that's defined by things being disposable, ephemeral.
And his aim is just crystal clear.
Right.
He's trying to provide a sort of moral operating system for the future.
Yeah.
He's guiding humanity toward a trajectory that's built on, unwavering truth, profound justice, and the highest values.
Right.
Even when, and this is the key part, even when those values are being systematically challenged or just plain overridden by optimizing algorithms.
And that's the crux of the matter, isn't it? The core question we have to keep asking throughout this deep dive is, why this specific leader, and why is this leadership model so urgently needed now?
Yeah.
The source argues the urgency comes from the fact that our current technological landscape, it just acts as a global amplifier. It takes human flaws, our moral compromises, systemic biases, and it just scales them up to impact billions of people instantly. So we need a fundamental grounding in unshakable character to counteract that.
Okay, so let's unpack this chaotic environment first, because the book does it so effectively. We need to define the exact nature of the problem before we can really appreciate the solution that's being proposed. So what are the specific elements of this AI era that create this urgent need to look backward for these foundational moral solutions?
Well, the source material lays out 5, I'd say, interconnected challenges that really define the AI era. And it starts with the most obvious one. The overwhelming nature of information spread.
Right. And it's not just that there's a lot of it.
No, it's a velocity problem. It's the speed. We're dealing with instantaneous global content distribution that has completely, dismantled the traditional gatekeepers of truth.
The editors, the fact checkers.
All of them. And when information travels faster than wisdom, chaos is the natural result.
And that speed is the perfect accomplice for the second point the book makes.
Yeah.
The constant and increasingly sophisticated mixing of truth and falsehood.
Right. And this is where the technical analysis is so crucial. We are so far past simple propaganda. I mean, we're talking about deepfake synthetic media that is functionally indistinguishable from reality.
It's terrifying.
It is. And AI-generated misinformation that is personalized to your specific biases and coordinated digital manipulation campaigns. It's becoming almost impossible for any individual, even a dedicated researcher, to consistently figure out what is objective reality.
It's a full-time job just to verify what you see.
It is. And this leads directly to the third, and maybe the most unsettling challenge. Machines are increasingly influencing and, in some cases, determining critical human decisions.
Okay, so give us some examples of that. High-stakes areas.
Think about predictive policing algorithms affecting prison sentencing. Or AI models that decide whether you get a loan or not. Automated systems that influence hiring and promotions, and of course the big one, targeted content that shapes political mobilization. These are life-altering judgments about human beings that are being made by these opaque systems based on data we don't fully understand or, frankly, control.
So here's where the pivot happens in the book. If machines are handling the intelligence, the computational heavy lifting,
Yeah.
what becomes the non-negotiable human imperative, the sources argue that in this landscape, ethics become infinitely more important than intelligence.
They absolutely must. I mean, think about it. Computational intelligence is rapidly becoming a commodity. It's something you can buy cheaply or access through an API.
It's just a utility, like electricity.
Exactly. But what AI profoundly lacks is a moral core. It has no conscience. It has no capacity to choose between right and wrong when it's optimizing for two different outcomes. A machine can optimize for maximum efficiency or for maximum fairness.
But it can't decide which is better.
It needs a human moral framework to tell it which goal takes precedence. And so human leaders, the policymakers, the developers, the CEOs, they have to supply that moral compass, and they often have to make choices that are, economically difficult but ethically essential.
And that brings us to the final, high-level challenge the book lays out, that leadership now requires character above power. So in a world where power comes from having massive data sets and owning the cutting-edge algorithms, why is character the ultimate defining trait?
Because computational power is. It's fundamentally ethically neutral. It's just a tool of amplification, that's all it is. You can use the most sophisticated machine learning model to commit the most widespread injustice, or to achieve the most profound good.
The tool doesn't care.
The tool doesn't care. So if the leader who's wielding that immense technological power lacks integrity, the system will fail morally, no matter how accurate or efficient it is. The source suggests we are entering a phase where trust in the leader's moral intent, their character, is really the only defense against a systemic ethical collapse.
That is a staggering diagnosis of modern anxiety. This feeling that technology is just moving too fast and is too powerful for our traditional systems of morality to keep up. So if that's the diagnosis, what are the essential qualities we need? And why does Abu Bakr represent the ideal model for this?
The book points to 5 indispensable core qualities: truthfulness, courage, transparency, compassion, and justice. And the powerful and I think unique argument that Meer makes is that these qualities are not just observable in the life of Abu Bakr.
Right.
They are present in their purest, most uncompromising form. And it's this purity, this historical status as the truthful, that establishes an absolute benchmark for ethical standards in what is a very morally ambiguous age.
So he becomes this unwavering reference point. The author then synthesizes this into 3 big pillars, 3 reasons why this ancient model is essential for modern AI leadership.
Yes. The first is that he represents truthfulness in a world that is drowning in misinformation. It's a direct historical antidote to the instantaneous algorithmic distortion we're all facing.
Okay, that makes sense.
Second, he represents courage in decision-making during crisis and uncertainty. And that is vital when technological shifts are constantly introducing these high-stakes unknowns, demanding moral clarity over, what's just expedient.
And the third pillar, which feels like the anchor that stops technology from just running wild, is human-centered leadership in times of technological dominance.
Exactly. This is the crucial reminder that technology is just a sophisticated tool designed by people for people. It has to remain the servant, not the master, of our civilization.
So it's about accepting that the AI era is defined by speed and complexity and this amoral efficiency, and then concluding that the only counter solution lies in slow, unwavering moral clarity, anchored in historical integrity and a focus on human welfare.
It's a necessary moral recalibration. It's a reset.
It feels like it. If we don't define the moral direction first, the technology is just going to accelerate us in whatever direction the market or, the military dictates.
That's the fear. That's the real fear. We risk outsourcing our moral authority to lines of code.
Okay, that's a powerful thought. Let's transition now into the second section where the book moves from this high-level philosophy into really concrete applications. We're looking at the timeless lessons that are explicitly translated for the digital age.
Right.
Starting with the absolute foundation, truth.
Lesson 1 is, it's the fundamental mandate for system design. Truth is the foundation of all systems. And Abu Bakr's historical trajectory, long before he was ever in a leadership role, was defined by this commitment. His consistent, unyielding commitment to truth is what earned him the title as Siddiq, the truthful, or the verifier.
Why? What did that mean in practice?
It meant his word was impeccable. People knew without a doubt that what he said was the truth, even when it was difficult or unpopular. It was his defining characteristic.
But let's ask the skeptical question here. We've had lying leaders and propaganda since the dawn of time. What makes this specific historical testament to uncompromising truth so critically urgent right now?
It's because the threats to truth have shifted fundamentally. It's gone from being a human scaling problem to an algorithmic scaling problem. In the past, to spread a lie, you needed printing presses, you needed organizational effort, human editors. It took work.
Right, there were bottlenecks.
Exactly. But now, consider the modern threat analysis. We are dealing with generative AI that can produce endless streams of highly convincing, highly personalized falsehoods.
And they're not generic, are they?
Not at all. They are designed to appeal specifically to your known biases, and they're deployed instantly across global networks and often created by models that are intentionally opaque. You don't know why it's telling you what it's telling you.
So the algorithm becomes the new gatekeeper, but its optimization goal isn't veracity. It's usually engagement and retention.
And controversy, anger, outrage, those are highly engaging, which means the system inherently favors the untruthful and the extreme over the mundane, boring truth.
That's the tension.
It is, and that's why the source emphasizes his principle, a principle that transcends time. Speak the truth even if the world opposes you. This historical mandate transforms from just a personal virtue into what is essentially a compulsory engineering specification for how we design our digital world.
Okay, let's break down that modern application. What does this commitment to uncompromising truth actually look like when we apply it to, say, a tech company or a regulatory body?
First, it mandates the establishment of ethical algorithms. This means shifting the entire design paradigm. An ethical algorithm has to prioritize veracity and fairness above click-through rates or time on-site maximization.
So if there's a choice between a more truthful path and a more profitable one,
The ethical algorithm chooses truth. If the ethical mandate requires a less efficient but more truthful pathway, maybe delaying content for verification, that's the choice it makes. It means we're actually coding in a moral preference.
and that would require a matching external structure, right? Something like transparent governance.
Absolutely. If powerful algorithms are making these life-altering decisions, there can be absolutely no black boxes in the digital policy or the model's architecture. The inputs, the weighting, the decision-making process, the entire reasoning behind the machine's judgments, it must be auditable, comprehensible, and open to public or regulatory scrutiny.
No more the algorithm decided?
No more of that. Furthermore, this all feeds into the necessity for honest communication and trustworthy digital ecosystems. We need fundamental verification protocols built into the system. Think about things like decentralized identity systems or sophisticated provenance tracking for media. The system itself must actively fight manipulation and provide verifiable means for users to authenticate the source and the integrity of the information they consume.
What's so powerful here, I think, is the realization that this historical, deeply personal virtue, speak the truth even if the world opposes you, is now maybe the only viable global defense against mass manipulation. It becomes the essential standard for digital integrity.
It provides the non-negotiable moral bedrock. I mean, if you compromise on truth at the data layer or at the model layer or at the governance layer, the entire technological structure, no matter how intelligent or fast it is, will eventually serve corruption, not civilization.
Okay, let's move to lesson 2. Courage and clarity in decision-making. This is about making those morally unambiguous choices when everything else around you is complex, volatile, and uncertain.
The book highlights a truly foundational moment, the definition of leadership itself, which happened on the very first day of his caliphate. He stood before this complex, grieving, and potentially fractured community, and he delivered a declaration of his moral intent.
What did he say?
He said, "Truth is a trust, and falsehood is a betrayal."
That's a stark, uncompromising ultimatum. We should pause on that and really recognize the moral gravity of that moment. What was the historical context that demanded such unwavering clarity?
Oh, the context was immense political and social instability. The Prophet Muhammad had just passed away, which was an unprecedented, devastating event that left the early community just reeling.
Utterly destabilizing.
Completely. There were immediate succession debates, there were external threats from rival tribes, and there was internal fragility. It was a moment of profound uncertainty where, compromise or ambiguity or appeasement might have seemed like the politically expedient thing to do to stabilize power.
It's a safe play.
The safe play. But instead of hedging or seeking some political consensus through vagueness, he immediately defined the nature of governance itself. He made it clear that public office and the information shared by that office were a sacred trust. Falsehood wasn't just a mistake, it was an act of betrayal of that trust.
That's the power of moral clarity in a crisis. Modern leaders, especially in tech, they so frequently try to speak vaguely about risks while they're maximizing profits when a new technology emerges.
Yes.
Abu Bakr's model demands immediate, explicit moral choices. There is no middle ground between trust and betrayal. It's a binary choice.
It is. And so how do we translate that clear binary moral boundary into specific technological standards today?
Right. How do we do that?
Well, first and foremost, data ethics. This means recognizing that the personal data entrusted to corporations and governments is not just an asset to be monetized. It is a profound trust.
Right.
Misusing it, exploiting it, manipulating it, or leaking that data is a betrayal of the highest order.
So this requires regulators to enforce severe penalties for data breaches and misuse.
Exactly. And to treat them as moral failures, not just as technical hiccups or, the cost of doing business.
And that transparency requirement applies equally to the systems that are processing the data. So AI transparency.
Yes. If a powerful AI is used in the judiciary, or for health diagnoses, or in determining someone's credit risk, the mechanism has to be fully auditable and accountable. The output needs to be rigorously traceable back to its inputs and explainable logic. No black box can determine human fate.
Absolutely. And then we have to address who holds the bag when the systems inevitably fail, which leads to cyber accountability.
A huge issue. In the past, accountability was tied to human managers. In the AI era, responsibility for digital actions, and that includes security breaches, algorithmic misjudgments, and system failures that cause real-world harm, it has to be clearly defined before deployment.
Not after the fact.
Before. And it has to be traceable to responsible governance structures, not just to the lines of code or some anonymous developer.
This ensures that when a massive cyber attack hits, or when an AI system fails catastrophically, the immediate response is one of responsible governance and leadership in crisis. The leader can't be evasive. The framework demands they immediately accept responsibility and prioritize preserving truth and justice over trying to, manage public relations or their corporate reputation.
It's a profound shift in priority, isn't it? It's recognizing that the long-term credibility and trust you earn by having immediate moral clarity far outweighs any short-term damage control you get from obfuscation.
That makes the moral ground much firmer. Let's move to Lesson 3, which focuses on the ultimate purpose of power and technology. Keeping humans at the center, not technology. This is the anchor that defines what success even is.
The historical model here demonstrates that true leadership, in his view, was fundamentally a service to the people, with a particular focus on building a society where the welfare of people, especially the weak, the poor, and the marginalized, was paramount. Leadership wasn't about self-aggrandizement, it was about elevating the most vulnerable.
And this provides the essential moral filter for any technological development. The crucial insight is constantly reinforced. Technology is meant to serve humanity, not dominate it. Where do we see this tension playing out most dangerously today?
Well, it plays out whenever technology optimizes for corporate profit or national security at the expense of human welfare. For example, when automation drastically displaces workers without providing corresponding social safety nets.
Right.
Or when powerful social media algorithms prioritize engagement dynamics that we know actively erode social cohesion and mental health. This is technology dominating humanity's long-term interests for a short-term gain.
I have to interject here with the point of skepticism, though.
Yeah.
In a hyper-capitalist context, if an efficient algorithm creates massive wealth for stakeholders, but it does so by displacing 1 million workers, what is the mechanism in this ethical framework to force that corporation to prioritize human welfare, even if it cuts directly into profit?
That's the key question. The mechanism is the moral mandate, and that mandate must be enforced by character-driven leadership, which, in a political context, translates into regulation and policy. The framework demands that technology supports specific, practical humanitarian goals, making them the primary key performance indicators, rather than secondary considerations.
And the source material explicitly lists those humanitarian goals that technology should be actively supporting.
Yes, it does. First, we must use technology to actively reduce poverty. This means ensuring that economic opportunity is democratized and accessible broadly, not just concentrated among the highly educated in a few technological hubs.
So that could mean using AI for things like job matching or skill development or microfinance outreach.
Precisely. Second, technology must be used to dramatically improve access to healthcare, particularly for underserved and remote populations. This could be through advanced telemedicine, remote diagnostics, and just making medical knowledge more accessible to everyone.
Third, using technology to support education and fairness. Guaranteeing that AI, personalized learning systems, and digital access don't widen the existing educational divides, but actively work to bridge them, creating a more level playing field for knowledge acquisition.
And underpinning all of this, the highest value remains the imperative to protect human dignity. If a technological system, no matter how fast or efficient it is, compromises the intrinsic worth of the individual through intrusive surveillance or biased risk scores or dehumanizing interactions, it fails the Abu Bakr leadership model.
And it must be redesigned or decommissioned.
Yes, it creates a moral red line. It's not an argument against technological progress at all, but it is a powerful argument for a strict moral framework that dictates the purpose, the application, and the boundaries of that progress.
That transition from historical context to a practical modern ethical framework is extremely compelling. Let's move now to Section 3, which distills these lessons into a concise, actionable moral compass for the technological future, what the book calls the OVER framework.
Right. And these 4 principles are designed as immediate clarifiers. When you're faced with an ethical trade-off in design or governance, this framework provides the immediate answer by identifying which value has to dominate the equation.
Okay, let's start with Principle 1, character over power. Unpack what that means for a modern executive sitting atop an organization whose power is derived entirely from data and machine learning capacity.
It means that true, sustainable leadership has to rely on moral authority and integrity, not just on computational capacity or institutional control. Power without character is dangerously unstable. It's brittle.
So think about the leaders of the largest global tech platforms.
Exactly. They hold this unprecedented, centralized power that's derived from network effects and massive data collection. The framework insists that ethical integrity, so the leader's willingness to self-regulate and resist exploiting vulnerabilities in their user base, is the only thing that justifies that power.
I can see the challenge here. If an organization has the computational power to deploy, say, highly manipulative but also highly profitable psychological tools, the mandate is that the leader's character must prevent that deployment. That requires prioritizing ethical integrity above the simple exercise of control or profit maximization.
Precisely. If we are building systems that require us to trust them implicitly, I'm talking about autonomous weapon systems, self-driving medical devices, or large-scale financial regulators, then the moral character of the organization building those systems is infinitely more valuable than the technical specifications of the chips inside them.
Okay, Principle 2, trust over algorithms. This is where the rubber really meets the road. Algorithms are tools. They're designed for speed and prediction based on historical data. So why must trust, which is often slow and qualitative, take precedence over that kind of efficiency?
Because algorithms are inherently imperfect. They are biased by historical data, and they're often deployed in service of very short-term optimization goals. Trust, on the other hand, is the foundational currency of any functioning society.
Right.
So when an algorithm delivers an efficient result, let's say a highly optimized advertising strategy, but that strategy systematically erodes public trust through deceptive practices or privacy violations, the source mandates that efficiency has to yield, trust wins.
The contrast is fascinating, isn't it? We are often conditioned to accept algorithmic results because they are numerically better. But a system that is, say, 99% efficient but systematically untrustworthy is, according to this framework, a total ethical failure.
Yes. Whereas a system that's maybe only 85% efficient but is built on transparent, auditable processes that actually foster public trust is deemed superior.
So it's a call to action to build trust into the algorithm itself.
It is. It means designing systems where integrity and fairness are primary performance metrics. When there is a conflict between algorithmic efficiency and public trust, trust must prevail, even if it requires building in costly human review mechanisms or slowing down data processing.
Okay, Principle 3 hits what might be the most potent ethical dilemma of the AI era: justice over efficiency. We are obsessed with speed and optimization. What is the real cost of this pursuit when it clashes directly with the goal of equitable, just outcomes?
The cost is systemic harm, and that harm is often concentrated on vulnerable populations. Fast decisions mean absolutely nothing if they are unjust. Consider predictive policing models that are incredibly efficient at identifying high-risk areas.
Right.
But they do so by systematically over-policing and penalizing marginalized neighborhoods, which just perpetuates historical bias. That system is an accelerator for injustice.
This is where I have to introduce genuine skepticism again. In modern business, efficiency equals profit. Prioritizing justice, which often requires slowing down systems, adding layers of human review, or intervening to correct systemic biases. That's expensive.
It is.
So how does the Abu Bakr framework provide the leverage needed for a commercial entity to prioritize fairness over sheer optimization speed?
The framework changes the definition of success. It argues that a society that prioritizes speed and profit over justice is fundamentally unsustainable and will eventually collapse under its own moral weight. The leverage is long-term societal stability and the moral imperative.
And for a corporate lawyer like the author, this translates into what? Regulation.
Regulation and constitutional principle. Systems must be built to value equitable outcomes. This means banning the use of AI in high-stakes decisions like automated insurance denials or hiring if those models cannot prove their fairness, regardless of their speed advantage.
So that raises a critical question. Should systems be slowed down if it's necessary to ensure fairness? The framework explicitly says yes.
It does. We must build in human review and ethical constraints that ensure the pursuit of efficiency never, ever trumps the requirement for justice, particularly in law, in healthcare, and in resource allocation. Justice is the indispensable safeguard against the cold, amoral optimization of machines. We have to design for fairness, even if it requires significant sacrifices in commercial speed.
Okay, finally, principle 4. Human dignity over data. We are constantly told that data is the new oil, the most valuable resource driving the world economy. How does this principle redefine that value hierarchy?
It establishes a sacred, inviolable moral boundary. Data is important, yes, of course, for medical breakthroughs and societal insights. But human dignity is sacred and it is non-negotiable. Data is a tool to serve the person. The person is never merely a data set to be exploited.
This is the critical distinction. Where does one draw the line between gathering useful insights, say, for a public health campaign, and violating the intrinsic worth and privacy of the individual?
The line is drawn where the data is used to diminish, control, or exploit a person without their full, informed, and continuous consent. This principle dictates strong data sovereignty and privacy rights.
So no amount of valuable aggregated data can justify certain actions.
No. It can't justify intrusive surveillance or exploitative psychological targeting or the use of algorithms to make these life-altering determinations about individuals without transparency or a way to appeal. The moment data usage compromises human dignity, that usage has to be immediately halted, regardless of the potential economic or efficiency benefits.
So these 4 over principles, they provide a powerful, unified moral mandate. Character, trust, justice, and dignity must always be the dominant force in any technological equation. It's a constant moral recalibration mechanism.
It's the necessary brake pedal. It prevents us from accelerating so fast toward technological advancement that we lose our collective humanity along the way.
Okay, let's now transition to section 4, focusing on the explicit purpose of the author's work, connecting this powerful framework back to your life, the listener's life, and professional goals by showing just how universal the application is.
The author's ambition for this series is really twofold. First, it is a focused effort to teach the true essence of Islamic leadership, not as, dusty history, but as an active, living moral philosophy that's applicable to any domain.
And second, and this is crucial, to forcefully translate those timeless moral principles, the commitment to justice and truth, into concrete, actionable AI-era applications. The book refuses to compartmentalize ethics. It demands they be deployed everywhere.
And this focus really demonstrates the universality of character. The series illustrates how Abu Bakr's foundational qualities, his humility, his courage, his truthfulness, can guide these diverse facets of modern life, proving that ethical consistency is required in every domain, from the deeply personal to the geopolitical.
And looking at the diverse areas of application listed, it really drives home that universality. This leadership model applies directly to digital governance and policy, setting standards for how nations should regulate AI, manage data, and structure their digital infrastructures to serve the public good.
But the mandate doesn't just stop at the state level. It's highly relevant for the individual, guiding personal life and family values, ensuring that the use of technology within the home, social media interaction, device usage, education, remains human-centered, moral, and dignity-protecting.
It also applies directly to community leadership and education, ensuring that our educational systems teach future generations to prioritize character and moral responsibility over sheer connectivity or technical skill acquisition.
And finally, to professional ethics. Every corporate leader, every engineer, every constitutional lawyer needs this kind of robust framework to navigate the complex daily trade-offs between maximizing profit, maximizing efficiency, and maintaining moral responsibility. It's a required resource for navigating the modern boardroom.
So the overarching ultimate call of this entire deep dive and of the source material itself is a simple yet incredibly profound message. We must decisively place character above technology.
Because the enduring fate of humanity is not dependent on how powerful our machines become. It's dependent on how rigorously ethical and principled we remain in deploying them. If we maintain character, we ensure that advanced technology serves our betterment. If we lose our character, technology will simply accelerate our downfall. Humanity survives only through its ethical commitment.
This has been a necessary and I think a profound exploration, moving seamlessly from the foundational life of a historical figure to the most challenging ethical conundrums of the 21st century. Let's quickly summarize the universal formula that's derived from the source.
The author provides a definitive, concise algorithm for moral success, and it's applicable across all domains of life and technology. Truth plus justice plus courage plus humanity, a better future. It's a clear, non-negotiable equation.
So Abu Bakr is thus presented not merely as a historical figure to be admired from afar, but as a crucial living roadmap for a safe, principled, and human-centered future. A necessary guide to ensure that the technology we create serves our highest human potential and not, the lowest denominator of algorithmic optimization.
It truly serves as a timeless moral compass. And that brings us to our final provocative thought for you, the listener. If we accept the mandate that justice must prevail over efficiency, a mandate that is often costly in the short term, we have to ask ourselves, what systems, policies, or algorithms currently in widespread use in your life or profession are you willing to actively slow down, redesign, or even decommission simply because they are demonstrably unjust or erode trust, even though they are undeniably profitable or efficient?
That is a challenging question because rejecting efficiency feels like organizational failure in the modern economy. But this framework forces us to redefine what success actually looks like.
It does.
Success being ethical, sustainable outcomes, not just rapid growth.
Indeed, it forces us to ask, are we building fast, efficient roads to an unjust and morally compromised future? Or are we committed to building slower, more reliable, and equitable pathways to a future that is worthy of our human dignity?
A perfect thought to mull over as you navigate the complexities of the digital age. Next time on The Deep Dive, we'll continue this exploration, looking specifically at the introductory materials from this series, which focus on how to use this book in a concise introduction to the life of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. Thank you for diving deep with us.
Thank you.